Why do cartoons taste better on Nickelodeon?
Don't move. Ginger will be right back.
Someone once told me the grass is much greener on the other side.
As Told by Ginger was quite a unique cartoon for its time. It was part of the second wave of Nicktoons along with shows like Rocket Power, The Wild Thornberrys and Cat Dog. But it went in a completely different direction, focusing solely on the normal life of a preteen girl rather than crazy adventures. It's actually very similar in premise to Doug, one of the very first Nicktoons, and I suppose it's sort of similar to Hey Arnold, but Hey Arnold always seemed to have far more elements that weren't down to earth. Usually when you see a cartoon taking place primarily at a school, you expect it to be a comedy, but this show put more of a focus on exploring relatable issues alongside some humour. The show followed Ginger Foutley, a junior high student who's going through all the typical trials and tribulations of school and being a teenager. The pilot for As Told by Ginger was completed in September of 1999, and the premiere episode was shown over a year later on October 25 of 2000. The very first episode takes quite a few elements from the plot of the pilot, with the major one being the episode centering around Ginger getting an exclusive invite to popular girl Courtney Gripling's birthday party. Initially, the show was incredibly popular, particularly among young teens around the same age as the show's characters. However, despite this popularity, the show's ratings started to significantly decline, as Nickelodeon thought it would be smart to fuck around with its scheduling, which eventually led to them taking the show off the air after less than half the episodes for the third and final season had been aired. It took until January 20, 2007 for the remaining season 3 episodes to be aired, which is crazy. It took Nickelodeon almost 7 years to air 3 seasons of a show that had proved it was incredibly popular. I'll never understand why so consistently networks mess with scheduling and kill their own popular shows like this. And this might be a topic I address one day in a separate video. The show not only performed well with audiences, but it also performed well critically, being nominated for the Outstanding Animated Program Primetime Emmy for every one of its 3 seasons.
Please. Thank you.
Additionally, the show also had 4 specials produced throughout its lifespan.
Someone once told me the grass is much greener on the other side.
As I mentioned before, the show centers around Ginger, as well as her 2 best friends Macy Lightfoot and Dodie Bishop, who are kind of the dorky group but are never really heavily teased or bullied, which is a refreshing take on a story like this where you would usually see the dorky kids getting picked on every single episode. There are also the typical popular girls, Courtney Gripling and Miranda. At first glance it appears Courtney is your typical rich, popular girl who's going to make life hell for Ginger. However, this isn't the case. Ginger genuinely intrigues Courtney, and this gives Courtney a lot of depth as a character. At times, Courtney becomes aware of how out of touch she is with reality because she's filthy stinking rich, and has a super privileged upbringing, which leads to Courtney seeing Ginger as someone who can teach her about down-to-earth things like slumber parties or summer camp. Ginger also really wants Courtney to like her, so initially when Courtney shows interest in her, she tries so hard to be perfect and what she thinks Courtney wants her to be. However, Courtney is more interested in the flawed, middle-class girl that Ginger is. Courtney's best friend Miranda is generally the asshole of the pair and often tries to bring Ginger down, which is no more evident than in the first episode. Ginger gets invited to Courtney's birthday party, but Miranda starts planting seeds of doubt in her head about how good the present she's going to give will be. This eventually leads to Miranda peer pressuring Ginger into stealing a sign to give as a gift, resulting in Miranda calling the freaking police on her. That is some serious shit. Courtney is only occasionally mean to Ginger, and in some of these circumstances it's valid, such as her getting angry at Ginger when she thought she just peed all over a carpet.
Oh, Courtney's fluffy white carpet. My tartan bathrobe! My slumber party! Ruined!
However, every now and then there will be random moments where she's just a complete dick in stereotypical, spoiled, popular rich girl fashion. These moments feel so out of place as so much character development goes into establishing that Courtney is not like this. The B-plot of every episode is focused on Ginger's brother Carl and Dodie's brother Hoodsy, with Courtney's brother Blake often featuring as the antagonist. These plots generally take a more comedic slant, rather than touching on slightly serious issues like the A-plot does. The A-plot is surprisingly deep for what is essentially a kids show, touching on themes such as peer pressure, popularity, friendship, death, relationships, broken families, and bullying. These themes make the show incredibly relatable no matter your age, and you always get the feeling that the kids are constantly learning new things, something that goes hand in hand with being someone that young. The writers also nailed the kind of problems and drama that occur in high school, as well as the awkwardness of transitioning from being a kid to a teenager, something that everybody does at a different pace.
Talking, and maybe we've outgrown the little seal girl.
Shame on you! That spunky little girl with the infectious smile who just happens to be half seal has been our whole lives since the 2nd grade.
I'm a few years out of high school now, and it was actually really grating to watch these kids have these stupid as heck problems because of how easy they are to solve. However, having gone through the same experiences, these problems seem like huge obstacles to overcome at the time. High school is filled with dumb, pointless drama that should be able to be solved in 5 seconds, and As Told by Ginger captures the essence of that so well. I also found that it's so easy to step into Ginger's shoes and feel what she feels, particularly when her mother's arbitrary rules are enforced. Stuff like not letting Ginger shave her legs for some unknown reason really resonates with me. Obviously I didn't have this exact same experience growing up, but I can relate to parents setting rules that really seem like they have no basis for being there. Similarly, Hoodsy's mum being a real asshole towards Carl and not even hiding the fact that she doesn't want Hoodsy to have him as a friend is something that happens all too much when kids are growing up. The show is also very grounded, as I mentioned earlier, except for one specific episode where Carl's dead friend comes back as a ghost, which is truly bizarre for this show.
Halloween. Trick or treat. Lois, remain calm. You're having an episode.
Episodes can generally be enjoyed on their own, however there are a few plot points that are weaved throughout multiple episodes, such as Carl's petrified eyeball being stolen, or Ginger having to do community service after being arrested, which actually leads to a chain of other plot points throughout the entire season. Speaking of Ginger doing community service, why is she walking her brother on a leash in that episode?
You think you'll have time to run me in an open field before dinner? I'm dying to get off this leash.
Tomorrow.
Jingle bells, Shakespeare smells,
Stop the Christmas caroling. Stop the matzo ball making. Stop everything. Because for the first time ever, Ginger Foutley's getting a surprise not even Santa could have stuffed in his sack.
Dad.
Merry Christmas, all.
Deck your halls with a brand new, never-before-seen As Told by Ginger holiday special. Tomorrow at 8:30, 7:30 Central, only on Nickelodeon.
While the writing is for the most part pretty great, there are a few things I had problems with. My biggest problem with the writing is too often Ginger comes across as perfect. She's loved by the dorks and popular girls, she's a science genius, according to multiple male characters she's pretty, a talented poet, gets cast in a lead role in the school play, can sing and play guitar, and just generally doesn't do anything bad. The one episode that does show her as a little bit flawed is the holiday special, titled An Even Steven Holiday Special. In this episode, Ginger learns about having Jewish heritage and starts to go overboard with her new faith, going as far as completely dismissing anything Christmas related, similar to Lisa when she takes up Buddhism in The Simpsons. This leads to the special having a great message of accepting others' beliefs, both religious and otherwise, as the B-plot explores the awkwardness of kids discovering the truth about Santa at different ages. The special also explores more about their absent father, who shows up at their house at the end to give each of the kids presents, while also saving the house from burning to the ground.
Carl, the house is on fire!
Women and children first.
You never find out why the dad is not in Ginger and Carl's lives, despite clearly living in the same area though, which is a little frustrating. I really did feel for their dad in this episode. He's a shitty deadbeat dad, but you can tell that during the episode he's really trying to connect with Carl.
Violently allergic to peanuts.
Oh, well, it's the thought that counts, Carl.
Yeah, I guess. But they make my throat swell shut. I could die if I ate them.
Oh.
After he saves the house from almost burning down, he almost shares a kiss with their mother, implying that maybe there's a chance they'll patch things up. However, I felt that this almost kiss was way too forced, and even worse that the father is not mentioned or shown again in the final few episodes. I get that 3 of the final 4 episodes was a 3-part television movie, but to not have him show up again for the rest of the season is kinda disappointing. Hopefully this plot point is continued during season 2. I also found that it doesn't make much sense that Courtney attends a public school. You could argue that it's another one of her attempts to be down to earth and not a snob. However, when a senator's son is considering transferring to their school from a private school, she sounds like she resents being at public school. Perhaps she did choose to go to public school and now regrets it?
Ginger's back. That's major.
As I alluded to earlier, the first season ends with a 3-part special called Summer at Camp Caprice, which sees Courtney tagging along to summer camp with Ginger, Macy and Dodie. This is a fun little special, but it has some weird writing problems. Namely, why does Courtney tell everyone that Ginger is dating Ian Richton? Sure, Ginger has a crush on him, but they are definitely not dating, but for some reason Courtney is telling everyone at camp that he's Ginger's boyfriend. This is never really explained, and because Courtney telling everybody this is the source of the problem Ginger needs to overcome, it just felt like bad writing. Oh, it also concludes with Ginger serenading the boy she met at summer camp and fell in love with, which is really cringy.
There was air that smelled like rain, and the moon was out in daytime. When I first learned your name, South Serious, and though the
Not just cartoons.
We're Nicktoon.
Arnold, Helga, Phoebe, Gerald, Sid, Grandpa Stinky Harold, SpongeBob, Patrick, Sandy, Keep the Krabby Patties handy, Squidward, Tito Twister, Reggie Rocket, Otto's sister, Ginger, Hoodsy, Carl, Macy, Junior High School Life is Crazy. Not just cartoons.
We're Nicktoon.
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 Season 1 of As Told by Ginger is a very good start to a series. It establishes some really great characters that grow and change throughout the season, and it's hooked me in. I want to see what happens to these characters in the next 2 seasons and how they develop. The stories are so relatable, which helps keep you engaged all the way through, and despite some occasional writing flaws, it's mostly very well written. Most kids shows don't go for the depth that As Told by Ginger has, and that's not a bad thing of course. Shows that only go for humour aren't any worse than shows that dig deeper into themes or morals of course, but it's refreshing to see a show aimed at kids that does this so well. I would definitely recommend going back and watching, as the show definitely holds up today. And I say that without any nostalgia clouding my judgment, as Told by Ginger was never a show I watched heavily as a kid, and as I got older, reruns barely ever played on Nickelodeon. It's a shame that future seasons weren't as successful thanks to Nickelodeon's ever-changing schedule, as I truly feel that a lot more people would look back fondly on this show if it was treated with the proper care and respect that it deserved from the network.
it's over.